Hello, everybody. So we'd like to ask everybody to please take your seats. Magandang hapon po sa kanilang lahat. We'll start the program with the land acknowledgement and the national anthem of Canada and the Philippines. So take it away, Errol or Kim. Can we turn off the lights, please?
Stand up.
This land has always been a meeting place, and the stories of this land go back thousands of years.
These stories rest underneath concrete streets that were once prominent pathways and trade routes.
These stories permeate through crevices in the land and flow through ancient waterways.
Back when the shoreline was further north, trees were standing in water. These stories stood with them.
Takaranto.
Tuckeronto.
Tikaranto, where the Wenda, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe peoples gathered, traded, and took care of this dish of one's food.
The shared land and our shared responsibility.
But what knowledge?
What knowledge?
What knowledge must be acquired before we can acknowledge?
We meet you here today in search of stories.
What stories will you share for future generations to learn?
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
The person.
Our home and native land, true Patriot.
Ton histoire est une épopée, qui parlait glorious in me. We stand on God for thee. We
we stand on guard.
Thank you. May you take your seats, please. Oh, by the way, my name is Agnes Lopez Manasan. I'm your MC today. And I'm the president of the University of Philippines Alumni Association, at the same time also a consultant to the Catholic Community Services of the York Region. And before I probably tell you about the housekeeping and a little bit of a background of the program. But first, I'd like to call on our beloved Consul General Angelica Escalona to give her welcome remarks. Thank you.
Magandang hapon, good afternoon, and welcome to the Philippine Consulate. Also, happy Valentine's Day in advance and happy Year of the Dragon. So this is the second in a series of workshops organized by the UP Alumni Association in Toronto in partnership with the Philippine Consulate General to help address the concerns of kababayans, especially the newcomers and international students. Housing is currently a major issue in Canada, especially in urban areas like the Greater Toronto Area. Even our consulate employees are not immune from the effects of the rise in rent prices. Housing has become a serious concern for newcomers and international students, many of whom are not yet financially stable. It is a challenge for them to juggle adjusting to life in Canada, their studies, work, and looking after the needs of their families, whether here or back home in the Philippines. Ensuring that they have adequate, safe, and affordable housing is essential to their physical and mental well-being. There have been serious discussions at the federal, provincial, and municipal levels about the housing crisis. Notably, the lack of housing was one of the major factors that led to Canada's recent announcement of a 2-year cap on international student admissions. Following this, the province of Ontario announced several measures to address international student concerns, including requiring all universities and colleges to have a guarantee that housing options are available to incoming international students. We are assessing the impact of these new measures on Filipino international students through close coordination with Canadian officials, nonprofits, and of course, the Filipino community and Filipino student groups. Today's forum is therefore very timely. We hope that there will be a productive exchange of information and ideas. The results of today's forum will also serve as inputs for further actions. Please note that the Philippine Consulate General is planning to host a Filipino International Students Convention soon. This will cover, among others, support services, settlement and integration services, consular services, and other concerns of our Filipino international students. This will be an in-person event. We're hoping this will be a big one. So before I end, I wish to sincerely thank the UPAAT, our resource persons, and all the participants joining us in person and online. Maraming salamat at mabuhay kayong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Consul General. I'd like to acknowledge first the presence in Zoom online of City Councilor Alejandra Bravo, who is so kindly, spending time with us to be able to participate in this afternoon's session. Before we proceed with the next number in the program, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background about this workshop that we have. We actually, the University of the Philippines Alumni Association of Toronto and the Philippine Consulate General in Toronto designed this program. It's a 4-workshop series that we actually started in November. The workshop 1 was about accreditation and licensing of foreign trade professionals. And it's really the title of the whole 4 workshop series is Empowering Newcomers for Success in Canada. So this is the workshop number 2. It is about housing options for newcomers and international students. And in this workshop number 2, we have actually as one of our community partners or our community partner, Catholic Community Services of York Region. So thank you very much. UP Alumni Association, if you're not familiar with it, has been in existence since 1977. And we are doing a lot of programs, not only for our alumni and their families, but also for the Filipino-Canadian community. So we're actually providing support to the community, expanding our reach, not just within the alumni associations, but to those who are in need in our community here in Greater Toronto area. So, we have scholarship programs, we have social events, we have community assistance programs, education and awareness, and we have a lot of scholars that we are supporting in the Philippines, in the University of the Philippines system. And, we have 18 scholars that we have helped or are helping right now. And we're expanding this year to the UP Mindanao, because we have been having programs for UP Diliman and for UP Los Baños, but we're expanding to UP Diliman in our scholarship programs. So just a very brief, background about UP Alumni Association of Toronto. And so there's a lot of people to thank, but we'll do that after the end of the program. In the meantime, I'd like to call on the Deputy Consul General, Kerwin Tate, to introduce our guest speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our guest speaker is the Mayor of Toronto. The Honorable Olivia Chow has served the people of Toronto for over 3 decades. Born in Hong Kong in 1957, she immigrated to Toronto with her parents at the age of 13. An apartment in the St. Jamestown neighborhood was a launchpad for her remarkable personal journey as a community organizer, activist, school board trustee, Metro Toronto councillor, member of parliament, and now the first person of Asian descent to serve as mayor of Toronto, and the first woman to serve as mayor since the 6 municipalities of Metro Toronto were amalgamated. As Toronto's new mayor, she is working hard to build a city that holds the same kind of hope and promise that it did when she first arrived here. A city that is more affordable, caring, and where everybody belongs. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow.
Thank you all for coming out today. Toronto is the strongest city because of its incredible Filipino community. I've had the privilege of joining the community at cultural events and festivals, working alongside with many to improve Canada's immigration policy when I was a member of Parliament. Now, as your mayor, my top priority is to build housing, so Toronto is a welcoming and affordable place to be. You may have come to Toronto for work or for family, perhaps to further your education. I know the experience of starting a new life far from home. My family arrived here from Hong Kong when I was 13. When we arrived, we found an affordable apartment in St. Jamestown. It was a good place to start our lives here. But in recent years, many Toronto home is becoming more and more expensive. This fall, the City of Toronto declared that it is back in building housing. We passed a bold and transformative plan to build rent-controlled 65,000 of them, rental homes. We are removing barriers to make it easier and faster to build all types of housing in our city. Also, we're improving protections for renters, from fighting illegal evictions to getting landlords to fix the broken utilities. The city is working hard to keep people housed. My colleague, Councillor Alejandra Bravo, will chair the committee overseeing these tenants protection programs, is joining you today. She has decades of experience and cares deeply about making housing affordable. Have a successful forum, and thank you for your dedication to making life better for all. Thank you all for coming out today. Toronto is a strong...
So thank you very much to the mayor and to the staff of the mayor who made this video message possible. You know, we invited her to come here in person. However, you know how busy the mayor is. And so they so graciously suggested that she would just send us a video message. However, we have a representative from the city government. And I'd like to introduce her to you. She's right now joining us in Zoom, and she'll give you know, a talk to tell us about what they're doing in the current administration under Mayor Olivia Chow. She's Alejandra Bravo, was elected as a city councilor for Ward 9, Davenport in 2022. A Ward 9 resident for over 2 decades, she first became active in her children's school in 2000, becoming the chair of the Davenport TDSB Ward Council. Alejandra has a 25-year history of leadership with civil society organization, including extensive governance experience with boards ranging from the Art Starts, a community arts organization operating in underserviced neighborhoods, to serving on the Toronto Board of Health. An educator and facilitator by profession, Alejandra's work has been focused on helping communities understand and influence the government decisions that impact them. She was the Director of Leadership and Training at the Broadbent Institute, where she built training capacity across Canada and led the Institute's work on democratic renewal. She was also the Director of the Power Lab, a leadership learning initiative co-created with the Atkinson Foundation that is focused on local organizing for a more fair economy. Alejandra was also previously the Manager of Leadership and Learning at Maytree, where for a decade, she designed and delivered innovative political and civic training for emerging and diverse leaders. Alejandra is a graduate of the University of Toronto and the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education. Born in Chile, Alejandra moved to Canada with her family as a refugee when she was a child. In addition to English, she's fluent in Spanish, French, and Portuguese. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give you City Councilor Alejandra Bravo.
Thank you so much. It's a real privilege to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation, and greetings to Your Excellency in the Consul General's office. It's wonderful to see in the room so many people here to discuss these important issues. I think that, you know, very dear to my heart, I've been working for you know, almost 30 years around the question of access to good jobs, good housing, education, and the ability of people to practice their profession here in Canada, which we need for Canadian society and economy. I think it's crucial to recognize the tremendous contributions historically in this city and in this country of the Philippine community. And it's, you know, something, so many social innovations, I would say. It was wonderful to know that credit unions that have been created for women working as caregivers, that's an incredible social innovation, something that we can all learn about. Leadership, tremendous leadership around conditions for workers, and so I feel really privileged to be here. Housing and access is absolutely core to all the work that we're doing with Mayor Chow. Since her election, I did a lot to support her with a long history of collaborating that we have. She named me chair of Economic and Community Development Committee. So all of the questions around homelessness, community development, fair economy, everything from childcare to emergency services, culture, reports into my committee. It's absolutely crucial at this time that we continue to focus on the creation of new affordable housing. We have so many people who are working in Toronto but can't afford to live here in very precarious conditions that puts people in danger. It doesn't allow families to succeed. It's, as you know, a core mandate of this mayor to expand and build affordable housing. And it's a core mandate to provide fair services. I think that we know that if our children aren't able to go to camp, have recreation programs, and of the supports, the student nutrition program, which the City of Toronto funds. Those are the building blocks and the good start for young people. At the same time, we've been working, and I've been working for about 10 years on the question of opening up access to contracts and procurement so that more diverse newcomer communities and companies are able to get work at the City of Toronto, breaking up those contracts so that there's better, more equitable access, because there's also entrepreneurial leadership in this and other communities. But I think that the thing I want to really highlight here is the victory that we've had recently and everything that's in the budget that's absolutely so crucial for all of us. First of all, yesterday, the announcement that the federal government is going to honor its obligations to refugees and asylum seekers has put the city in a much better position. And I'm really pleased that I got, for the last 7 months, to work and lead on behalf of City Council all of the effort to meet, to plan, to pressure, to demand, together with refugee serving, homelessness serving leaders, faith leaders, community leaders. And that really shows how much more power we have when we work together. So I really want you to understand that you have inside of this city government champions. If you have something that you need or want, we will want to work with you together. And it's your knowledge, your deep knowledge of community needs and what the solutions are that's going to help us carry forward and come out with better results. It's the same thing with the housing. We're going to get back into the creation of cooperative housing, affordable housing, even affordable market rental housing, because this is something that's affecting everyone and it's absolutely crucial. We're investing more into shelter services, and unfortunately, many of us may find ourselves in a situation of eviction or loss of our home, and we need to have that basic net of security so that people are not sleeping on the street. The investments in transit are really crucial, and I think we know that the people that run the city, the workers that care for our children, care for our seniors, build things, serve every aspect of society are on transit, largely racialized workers, newcomer workers. And we want to make sure that people are able to get around. There's incredible leadership also from young people in this community around TTC riders and transit, and speaking to the need to be able to get, to get to university or college and then get to your part-time job. These are really important drivers of fairness so that we can all succeed and contribute. I think that one of the most important things here is the change of approach, is that we really believe and we really practice that knowing the problems that communities face, knowing the challenges is really best brought forward by the people who are experiencing them and who are in relationship with them. The deep knowledge of communities are also around solutions is something that we're really changing at City Hall. Right now, we're leading the strategic planning process for Toronto Public Health, for example, which delivers a whole bunch of services that are really crucial, from vaccination to school nutrition programs and everything in between. And we're going to do this in partnership with communities. So I really invite you to reach out to us, to get involved, to make your voice heard, to share what you know and what you need. And working together, I'm sure we can have better outcomes. So many of the things that are really crucial are at the provincial and federal level, sure. But together we can pressure for the recognition of internationally trained people's education so that they're able to work, so that our communities are able to work at the level which that they've been educated and which we need, because we need that in Canadian society. We need that in Toronto. And the kind of responsive programs when people start falling through the cracks. And I think in every community we've seen that young people have struggled, especially coming out of the pandemic. We need to focus on youth. There's a lot of focus on seniors, which is important, but to me, it's very important that we're thinking about the young people. How are they being supported? What kinds of programs do they need? Where are the mental health supports? Where are the opportunities? This is all about spending our resources better, well, and preventing harm. We don't want to have to spend more through hospitalization, through law enforcement. It's really about investing in people at the front end. And I think that that's what's going to make us all have a better, happier, safer, and more caring life. It's a privilege to join you. And I just want to say that as Economic and Community Development Committee Chair and for my role on the Board of Health, I hope this is only the beginning of our relationship. I look forward to talking again and to hearing from you what it is that you particularly need as a response from your city government. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bravo. We really appreciate you joining us this afternoon, and I hope that we can continue the conversation with you and other members of the city government, and also, of course, of the Ontario government, and hopefully the federal government, and some of the advocacies that the Filipino community are doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful conference, and I look forward to working together in the future. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. I think we're doing good with the time. Yeah, right? So we have actually a panel members who are here this afternoon who are also, spending their very valuable Saturday afternoons, and including all of you, of course. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon in this forum. And we really would like to get the Filipino community focused on some of the issues we're encountering right now here in Toronto, and of course the greater Toronto area. And that's why we invited not only the city government officials to give us an idea about what the plans are, but also the non-governmental, the NGOs that are working for newcomers and international students on some of the issues, particularly in housing, that we're talking about right now. So we have actually with us here, I'd like to call on Consul Rodney Jonas Sumagi, who's going to introduce our panel presenters. Thank you.
Thank you, Agnes. Good afternoon to all of you. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Our first set of presenters is from Agincourt Community Services Association. Stella Zuderby is the interim manager of the Homeless Services and Housing Access Department at AXA Community Services. In this role, Stella oversees the Housing Hub Program, Street Outreach Program, and Combined Drop-In Program. Stella holds a Bachelor of Arts and Master of Arts in Child and Youth Care from the Toronto Metropolitan University. Her work largely focuses on supporting children, youth, and families experiencing homelessness and participatory youth-led research. With Stella is Ivan Guarin. Ivan is also a housing case manager at Agincourt Community Services Association with over 2 years of experience in the housing field. Prior to becoming a housing case manager, Ivan worked in settlement counseling and graduated from the University of Guelph, Hamburg with a bachelor's degree of community social services and a diploma in social service work. On his spare time, Ivan likes to cook and play the guitar. So Stella and Ivan, you have the floor.
Hi, everybody. We just want to start off by thanking Agnes for inviting us today. And we're very excited to be here. I'll just introduce myself again briefly. So my name is Stella. I am the intern manager at formerly Agent Court Community Services Association, and now known as AXA Community Services. Here with Ivan. So yeah, we're going to start our presentation. So our presentation is Housing Basics, the guide for newcomers. I'll just start off with the next slide. Perfect. I'll just start off by kind of giving a brief overview of what AXA Community Services does. So we are a multi-service community agency based in Scarborough. We are, sorry. So yeah, we're a nonprofit community organization based in Scarborough for over 50 years this year. AXA Community Services has been a committed partner in working alongside Scarborough residents to improve the lives of children, youth, families, seniors, and those who are precariously housed or experiencing homelessness in the city, and newcomers. Some of the services that AXA Community Services provides are newcomer services, food security programs, financial empowerment programming, child and family supports and programs, and housing programs, which is what we're going to speak to today.
All right, so thank you very much for inviting us. Maraming salamat po. Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. So, oops, sorry.
Maybe we can move the podium because they cannot see. I don't think you need the podium. If you want, you can also live here. Those are sitting at the back. Baka gusto ninyo
So I'm one of the housing case managers for AXA Community Services. So essentially what we do is these 4 pillars here. So first, we do housing searches for clients. So we provide market rent listings, finding affordable housing options for each client based on their needs. So whether that be rooms, 1-bedroom apartments, basement apartments, whatever their needs are, we try to accommodate them and try to identify their needs and match them to potential housing opportunities that we could find. Second, we do housing focused case management. So again, we identify like clients' needs and what their housing needs are, and we try to refer them to community resources that address their specific needs. So it could include, for example, applying for rent geared income housing for people that have a low income. If there are people who are facing eviction, for instance, we do refer to community legal resources. Sorry, just give me a slide, please. Yes. So we also deliver housing presentations just like this. So we go out to the community and we partner up with other community organizations to deliver housing presentations as well. And we also create housing applications, like I mentioned. So with regards to rent geared income housing in City of Toronto. So we primarily deal with which is the housing benefits in the City of Toronto. There's 3 primary categories. So the first one is the bulk of our work is within the rent geared income housing. So rent geared income housing is for people that are permanent residents, citizens, or refugee claimants. So unfortunately, international students are excluded from this housing applications. So generally they charge 30% of your monthly income, except for if you're over your ODSP. This is a long-term housing option. So we generally recommend that clients apply as soon as they can, because the waiting list is quite long. It's a few years in Toronto. There's also opportunities in other jurisdictions and cities as well to apply. That might be shorter, but there's also options for individuals who are experiencing domestic violence as well, for them to get a priority status. The other program that we primarily deal with is Rent Bank. So rent bank is for individuals who are currently in arrears, or that means they're behind rent, or they're moving to a new place and they can sustain the rent, but they don't have the cash at the moment to pay for the entire rent. So if you don't have to be, you can be an international student for this program, you can be a citizen, or you can also be a permanent resident. The only exception is that if you're under Ontario Works or ODSP, you cannot apply for this program because there's another program called Housing Stabilization Fund that specifically deals with for those individuals that are on social assistance. Other benefits that exist are Ontario Electricity Support Program, which helps with your monthly electricity bills if you are renting. And if you are also behind your electricity bills, you can also apply for LEAP, which is the Low Income Electricity Assistance Program.
Great, so now that we've kind of gone through AXA Community Services and some of the services that we provide and housing benefits that are available, we wanted to spend the bulk of the presentation looking at some of the most common challenges that we see when newcomers are coming through our doors, looking to access private market housing, and more importantly, talk about some of the strategies that we use when working with those folks and trying to find housing. So one of the most common challenges that we do see when newcomers come through our doors is a lack of credit history. So what is credit history? So credit history is a record of borrower's repayment of debt. So this credit history can come from a number of sources, including banks, if you've taken out loans with banks, credit card companies, collection agencies, and governments. So what does this mean when renting in the private market? So landlords will typically ask for a credit history or a credit score to see whether a tenant can responsibly afford to pay their rent in that unit. So knowing that a lot of the newcomers coming through our doors do not have, it's not that they have a poor credit score, it's just that they don't have a credit score at all, or there's no credit history. Some of the things that we recommend on a short-term solution basis is providing bank statements. 3 to 6 months of bank statements can prove to landlords that you do have an income, that you've got money coming in, that your expenses don't exceed that income, and that you would be able to afford the rent. Another thing that we do recommend and that we've seen success from some of our clients is asking to get a letter from their banks in addition to the bank statements. So having a financial advisor write, that a letter stating that you're employed, that you do have income coming in, and there's no reason to believe that you wouldn't be able to pay the rent. So those are kind of some short-term solutions when looking in the private market. Another option we don't see as much with the folks coming through our doors, but it is out there, is to have a guarantor. So this is someone that can legally be held responsible for paying your rent on your behalf if you're unable to do so. Something to note is that this person's name, they're not going to be living in the unit with you. They're simply putting their name on it, saying that they're a fallback. Over at the end there, we have just some long-term things to keep in mind. Knowing that, the newcomers that are coming through our doors, they may be renting now, but they may want to rent again in the city of Toronto in the future. So a good thing to do is start to increase your credit score. Just side note here, we're not financial experts, not giving advice, but some things that you can do is ask your landlords to report on rental payments. So if you are making your rent, paying it on time, ask your landlord to report on that. You can also automate your monthly payments. A really great idea to make sure that, your payments, your rent, whatever bills you're paying are being paid on time. And another option is to speak to a financial advisor about effective credit card use.
So just a quick note regarding bank statements. Landlords are actually not allowed to require that as part of your tenancy application that you do provide bank statements. So this is completely optional and it's up to you, right? So just use your discretion, just use your judgment if you're going to do that. So the other challenge that we see in the community is the lack of affordable rentals in general. So currently we're in a housing crisis in the city and possibly even across the world, right? So what we usually do is we try to identify in the short term what strategies we can use. So in the short term, usually hotels, motels, if you still don't have accommodation when you arrive, if you do rent a motel or a hotel, they usually, for a month or two, they usually have discounts that they can give you, right? So you can also like stay with your friends and family if you're able to. So another important thing is you can explore other areas of the city. So please do your research because each neighborhood in the city has different market rent prices. Rent varies across the city. So for instance, in Scarborough, it might be cheaper to live in Scarborough than it is in downtown. That's the classic example, right? But generally the rule that we use is that the further away it is from transit and from like the futures that we need, like the accessibility part of it, the rent might be more affordable compared to something that is closer to more amenities. As a long-term solution, if you can find somebody that has a good credit history, already has an established rental record, it might be useful if you can piggyback off of them and try to sign a lease with them. The other thing you can do is find purpose-built rental apartments. So purpose-built rental apartments are apartments that are rent controlled. So essentially, if you are living in an apartment that was built after November 15, 2018, the landlord can increase the rents to however much the amount every single year. So the rent increase guideline for 2024 is 2.5%. So if you're living in a purpose-built rental apartment, they must abide that rental increase guideline as they apply to the Land and Tenant Board for rental increase because they incurred some sort of major expense such as repairs. Next slide, please. The other challenge that we encounter is lack of rental history. So usually when you're a newcomer, you don't have rental history, of course, because you never lived in Canada before. So generally, landlords now are looking for more and more references, employment references, past landlord references. So what are some things that we can do to address that issue? So in the short term, maybe connect with people with similar backgrounds as yours. So if you're international students, possibly network with other international students. There's Facebook groups, there's community organizations, there's churches, there's so many organizations out there that we can pull those resources together and we could possibly help each other out. The other idea that might be useful is you make a rental cover letter. So the same thing with employment, when you're trying to attract an employer to hire you, you write a cover letter and you write a resume, right? So the same principle here. So the Canadian Center for Housing Rights, they're an organization, a legal organization that assists tenants with issues with their tenancy. They have a great template on their website for rental cover letters. It basically outlines why you're a qualified tenant, right? So what is your employment history? What is your source of income? And it's basically answers the question why you would be a good tenant for a landlord to take over another person. Some other alternatives is you can offer the landlord more than the standard first and last month's rent deposit. So just a quick note, again, landlords cannot ask you for more than first and last month's rent. It is up to you if you would like to do that, right? But because of the market has become more and more competitive, some people have started offering more than the first and last month's rent. Maybe like some people have offered 12 months in advance. Not 12 years, sorry. Like this. So this is the template that we spoke of. So as you can see, if you'd like to take a picture, feel free to do so. But it's basically outlines like why, who you are, your personal profile, your credit history, for instance, and your proof of income. So basically, if you're just applying to a landlord in Kijiji, for instance, like say it's a private rental, they possibly get thousands of messages, even apartment buildings, property managers get thousands of inquiries right now. So maybe you can set yourself for success by differentiating who you are, like compared to the other applicants, right? So I just want to share a quick success story that we had. So I met two ladies. So one we're gonna call Lola because she was my grandma, and one we're gonna call Ape because she was older than me. She was kind of like a big sister. So Lola was she was a widow. She was living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and she told me that she couldn't afford her rent anymore because since the passing of her husband, she's not able to afford her basic living expenses. And she also had a bad previous experience with a tenant. So what we did was we looked through our client list and we tried to find somebody who would be a suitable tenant, might be a suitable tenant for her. So we can kill two birds with one stone, right? So we solve two problems in this scenario. So Atia was an international student. She was about to be evicted 1 week before I met her from her current residence that she was subleasing from. So at the time we had a crisis situation because we had to find a solution for these two issues. So what we did was we made them meet. It's more sort of like a dating scenario, right? So we asked them to come over to the office. I was like, hey, Lola, would you like to meet this person? And that place was like, would you like to meet this person? So they came together. We go to the next slide, please. Let's look at diagrams there. So we conduct a meetup, you know, I think they call it the Hana, would have it, right? They actually liked each other very much. So they had a whole 1 hour conversation. And they just talked the whole time as if I wasn't even there. And, you know, it's like their family now. They start planning, like the first time that they met, they already started planning what they're gonna do, you know, who's gonna take care of what in the household, who's gonna cook for who. So it became like a family almost. So this is not something, of course, that works for everybody, but it's an option as well that might be useful to explore. You know, if there's somebody in the community that is looking for a tenant, you know, try to seek them out and see if maybe you can help them out with it. Next slide, please.
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, we are one of the many housing hubs within the city of Toronto. So we just thought we'd put a map up here, just kind of highlighting where in the city all of the other 11 housing help centers or housing hubs are. So we're way out in the east end, but there's some over in the west end as well, and everything in between. So if you are somebody who's looking for housing help support, we encourage you to go to the City of Toronto's website and pull up this map and kind of find a housing help or housing hub closest to you. So our list of resources here that you can access if you want to snap a photo. We've just kind of highlighted everything that we've spoken about during the presentation today. And thank you again for having us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stella and Ivan. I think we'll go first the question and answer. So if you have questions, just remember them later for Ivan and Stella. We'll proceed with our next presenter. Our next presenter is from the Community Legal Clinic of York Region. He's on the housing team of the Community Legal Clinic of York Region, currently part of the Eviction Protection Program. He graduated from Sheridan College at the top of the program in 2018. Prior to joining the clinic in 2023, he worked at the Young Women's Christian Association of Greater Toronto and later at Mississauga Community Legal Clinic. He is a passionate advocate for housing rights and participates in a weekly podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stephen.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Obviously, thank you for everyone to be here. Councilors, your excellency, and audience in attendance. So I'm going to talk a little bit about tenant and landlord responsibilities and how it relates to you as a renter or landlord. So landlord and tenant law in Ontario is really on the provincial level. So obviously we are in Toronto today and we've had presentation from Scarborough, which is great. But ultimately the law that governs landlord and tenant relationships are on the provincial level and they can be quite complex. With an increased demand for housing, we are seeing that there are increases in numbers of illegal or potentially gray areas of rental law or rental arrangements. So a quick disclaimer, this presentation obviously is not legal advice. There's no client relationship that we're forming, just only for presentation services. And it's a slide that I have to include in every presentation. So I do apologize for that. So a little bit about our clinic. We are one of more than 80 clinics in the provincial level, and we are located in the York region. We do serve all 9 municipalities in York. So we have our work cut out for us. If we could continue. Sorry, there's a lot of things that you need to click on. I apologize for that. So like most regional clinics, we're made out of licensed lawyers and paralegals. We're completely funded by Legal Aid Ontario, and as such, we are a nonprofit. So all of the advice that we provide is free. If you do not qualify for our services, we will redirect you to organizations that can assist you. And obviously, like I said before, we offer free legal help for those who meet our financial eligibility criteria. We are currently focused on 4 main areas of law. Housing, obviously, which is why I'm here today, social assistance, employment, and of course, immigration. There are obviously other areas of law, but unfortunately, due to financial reasons, we are not able to provide legal assistance in those areas. Family comes to mind. So how do we help? Obviously, we can provide summary advice. And what summary advice means is just shorter summary of your situation. We'll get an understanding of your particular issue and then provide you legal consultation and perhaps guide you on how to proceed to better further your circumstance. That is one step removed from legal representation. So legal representation is where we take on your file fully. We do all of the work for you. We'll appear in front of tribunals or courts on your behalf. Referrals, like I said before, if we're not able to do either one of those 2 things, we'll point you towards the right direction. And of course, public legal education. That's something that we're obviously very passionate about, and is why I'm here today. So as we stated previously, I'm part of the eviction prevention program that was created in 2008. It's essentially a program that focuses on preventing evictions. So we do that on 3 levels, the first of which is intervening at any stage of a housing dispute. The second one is preventing tenants by preventing or delaying evictions. And the third one is assisting tenants with mental health issues. So what we have found in the eviction prevention program is that there is commonly an overlap between people who have mental health issues or suffering from mental health issues and their ability to sustain tenancy. That might be forgetting to pay their rent, that might be having conflict with other tenants or the landlord. It can be amounts of stress that they're currently facing or anxiety about paying their bills. So it's not necessarily about the ability to do it financially, but the ability to do it from a mental health perspective. So that's something we greatly focus on. So as I mentioned, we fully service the York region. I do understand that I'm not in York today. I'm in the city of Toronto. So if you don't live in York, you can always access the legal aid clinic in your area by either calling Legal Aid Ontario or visiting their website. So if you go on there, you can enter your own postal code. You can find out which local community legal clinic serves your region, and you can contact them instead. So I know the presenters from Agriculture has already mentioned a couple of things, but I just wanted to do a really very brief quiz on whether this is a RTA tenancy. So an RTA is the Residential Tenancies Act. It is the act that governs the relationship between landlords and tenants. And unfortunately, not all of the landlord and tenant relationships fall under the protections of the RTA. So the first one I have here is renting from a tenant who rents from the landlord. So any guesses as to whether this is covered under the RTA? No, right? So this is commonly referred to as subleasing, right? And obviously subleasing is a great way to go, especially if you're a newcomer, because subleasing typically means that you're renting maybe part of a room or a part of a house from an already established tenant. It's much easier to find, and it comes at a much cheaper rate, and that's great. All of those things are amazing. But the issue with regards to subleasing is that if you ever have a falling out with the tenant that you're subleasing from, you don't really have a lot of legal recourse. So it's not to say that you don't have any, you still do. It's in your contract that you signed with the lease. However, as a subleaser, as a subtenant, you're not able to apply to the landlord and tenant board to have your rights heard at the tribunal level. So it's not to say that you should never sublease, right? But it's also to make you aware of the potential pitfalls of a non-RTA tenancy. You are much more precarious in your residency and your tenancy. The second one I have here is a living caregiver to a client whom you share either a bathroom or kitchen. Any guesses on that one? No, okay, so yeah, so in the law that's situated in Ontario, the RTA, they have a provision that explicitly states that if you are a tenant who shares either a bathroom or a kitchen with the landlord's spouse, or the landlord's son or daughter, or the landlord's parent, or the landlord's spouse's parents, because, divorces are a thing, or the spouse's children, right? Then that's not really a tenancy covered under the RTA, right? So that means you can't apply to the landlord and tenant board. They don't have to give you notice with regards to a termination of your tenancy. I mean, they do, but you will have to sort it out at the small claims court and not at the landlord and tenant board tribunal. So we have seen cases where clients live in, say, a basement, but that basement does not have an access to a bathroom. So they'll say, well, I don't go to the bathroom in the house. I go to nearby gym or community center, but the landlord and tenant board will not really see that as a reasonable way to continue that tenancy. Right, so the next one I have here is if you are a property manager of a building, also known as a superintendent. Any guesses on this one? Okay, you guys are three so far. Okay, so this one really, it just means that your living situation is contingent upon your employment. So you have practically no rights at the landlord and tenant board because they're only allowing you to live there based on your work performance. And if your work is in jeopardy, if you get terminated, then that terminates your relationship. Last one I have is a little bit of a tricky one. So this is a tenant of a condo that was constructed after November 15, 2018. Okay, so yes, you are a tenant under the RTA. So why is the date important? Well, you're protected under basically 99% of the provisions. The only one that you're not protected against, which I think is very important, is the rent increase. So they do still have to give you 90 days notice to the end of your tenancy, but they can increase it by any amount. And yeah. So I'm just gonna skip most of this because I understand I only have 5 minutes left. But essentially, you're guaranteed way more provisions under the RTA, way more protections. You can't be evicted. You have to go before the LTP. Let's move on. So, just gonna go through this pretty fast here. Tenants have to pay the last month's rent deposit before the start of the tenancy. You have to pay rent on time. You have to report issues promptly. And you have to keep the living area in a reasonable state of cleanliness. And you can't interfere with the reasonable enjoyment of other tenants or landlords. More than happy to explain it further. And obviously, you can't do illegal acts. But if you have questions with regards to these, I'm happy to answer any question and answer period. So landlords, this is an interesting one. So landlords cannot prohibit pets in residential units. Even if you lie about it, it's actually fine. So if you say, look, I don't have two Great Danes, I don't even know what Great Danes are, and then landlords later find two Great Danes in your apartment, fine. But they can't evict you for that. If they do, that's retaliation, and please call our clinic. There are some provisions which are bylaws that say you can't have, there's a maximum number of animals, right? So be careful for that. Landlords can't interfere with supply of vital services like heat, fire, electricity, water, that kind of thing. And reasonable enjoyment goes both ways. And this is the most important one. They have to apply to the landlord and tenant board in order to evict you. And the human rights one is important because if you have mental health or physical or other mental or health issues, you can ask the landlord to make those accommodations, whether it's installing a railing in the hall, whether it's installing a ramp at the front, as long as it's not prohibitively expensive to the landlord, they have a human obligation to do this. And obviously they can't seize your stuff. If you are late and you have a nice TV, they can't take it and send it. Some special considerations I talked about already, utilities, temperature regulation, 21 degrees in the winter. There's no rules yet in the summer, unless you are from Mississauga. They have a thing where it's maximum 26. If you have AC, and landlords obviously can't change the locks. Reporting how it works, if you have any issues, you have to report the landlord first and foremost, keep pictures, keep a recording of that. You can contact by law, but be careful if you live in an illegal unit, they might ask you to fix it or the landlord to fix it. And obviously you can apply to the landlord tenant board, but only within the past 12 months of issues. And just a brief thing about landlord tenant board, what they do, the 4 things. Landlord application, standard application, mediation, and adjudication. I know I'm out of time, but happy to explain. And the slides are obviously available. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for providing us an overview of our legal rights. Okay. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, so we can proceed with the question and answer portion. And now I'll turn this over to Ms. Nova.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So we can go around and write down your questions. We'll be distributing pieces of paper, or you can come up to the microphone, whatever you prefer. Don't be shy. So anyone who wants to ask your question in person or yeah. Zoom will also be checking our chat box in Zoom meeting room.
Walang wala naman nag-login sa Zoom.
Or sa Zoom ba kami?
Wala.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the question for both finalists. If you don't reside in York region, say you reside in Durham or Peel, can you avail of the same services, or you just particularly for this service you have to be in York in this case as well? So for both.
So thank you very much for that question. So as I previously explained, I think in slide 4 or about, we are only one of 80 regional community clinics. And if you go to the Legal Aid Ontario website, slide 5, my apologies. This website has the ability for you to look into which region that you reside in, whether it's Durham or otherwise, and contact with the community legal clinic in that region. So I actually have colleagues in the Durham region, and they'll be more than happy to assist you. Every region has different but very similar programs. So I know that York covers the 4 different areas of law. Some regions will cover more because there are less resources in those regions. So what does that mean? It means that for a smaller region that is outside the GTA, there's less access to resources. So in GTA, you have things that are more specific. You have like the South Asian Legal Clinic. You have the African Black Association. You have all these resources concentrated in the GTA. If you're moving further out, they're more likely to provide more broad, extensive programs. But to answer your original question, if you live in other areas, please do check out this website or call these numbers to find out which legal clinic would be able to assist you. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Lizelle. I am from Catholic Community Services of York Region, and I am located in all 5 different locations, the welcome centers. So I understand, for example, if you live outside of York Region and you've been having some sort of issues with regards to housing, the welcome centers, which is actually a settlement organizations. We have 5 different service locations in there, but we are coming from different organizations like COSTI, CICS, Job Skills, Social Enterprise Canada, and I myself from Catholic Community Services of York Region. If you happen to be at the Welcome Center or any locations, for example, even at Service Canada or Service Ontario, you can actually ask which location, for example, or a settlement organization that is close by. And then a lot of settlement organizations, they have a housing worker. And in fact, the Community Legal Clinic of York Region, we have a lawyer. I am located in Markham North Welcome Center, which is along Highway 7 in Woodbine. So we have a lawyer, like an immigration lawyer. But with regards to housing, we have somebody who is a housing worker from Housing Help Center. So the questions about, for example, the locations of legal aids or something, if you want to talk to anybody or somebody who can like help you finding some help, maybe the starting point might be the community centers close by, the libraries, the settlement organizations, Service Canada or Service Ontario. So I recognize the help of like a community legal clinic, like as the speaker mentioned, Toronto itself, like the Agent Court Community Services Association, also help, and they have a lot of other services aside from providing legal services. Okay, thank you.
I'll just speak really quickly to, rent geared to income housing. The one we spoke about specifically is limited to the city of Toronto, but other regions throughout the province and in the GTA, they have rent geared to income housing, but it's through a different application process, and the centralized wait list is a different wait list. Sometimes it's good to explore the other regions as well. The wait lists for the city of Toronto are incredibly long. Durham, for example, could be a little bit shorter, the wait list there, and in some other regions as well. Some of the housing, the benefits that we spoke about, for example, the Housing Stabilization Fund, that's through Ontario Works, and so that is a province-wide benefit. Same goes for the Ontario Electricity Support Program. That's an Ontario-based benefit. As for the rent bank, the Toronto Rent Bank program is the program that we were speaking about today. I can't speak to the rent bank program throughout other regions just because I'm not as familiar about it. But I know that the rent bank program does exist in other regions as well.
So I think this is for Ivan, sorry. So you mentioned that, it is it for Ivan or for Stephen? I'm not sure, but if the building says that they are not allowing pets, but you said that it is illegal to prohibit having pets in the unit, right? What would we follow then?
Right, so there are obviously exceptions to every rule because it's law and that's how law works. So if the condo explicitly forbids pets, that's actually fine, it's part of the condo's rules. So you may be penalized in some way for that. But ultimately, we're talking about, rental relationships that are not condo-based, which are a majority of rental relationships. But hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My question is, I believe this is for Ivan. What specific initiative has the city of Toronto implemented to make housing more affordable especially for the international student without blaming them, right? And then are there any upcoming policies or projects that aim to alleviate the current housing challenges?
So that's a little bit of a loaded question. So it's a big picture question. Unfortunately, I can't really answer that. I don't think I'll give a satisfactory answer to that. I do work for community services. So we're a local community services. So I don't work for the city of Toronto. I don't work for a government agency. So that's the reason why I'm giving this answer. In regards to the city of Toronto's policies, I can't really speak on that either. So what I am is essentially I'm a frontline worker, right? So what I do is on a daily basis, I can help people apply for engaged income housing, Red Bank, and all those other programs. However, when it comes to the cities, in regards to the cities like programs for housing, there are like programs that are advertised on the City of Toronto website. So you're more than welcome to explore those. But unfortunately, I can't speak on those regards to policies or legislations because I'm only a frontline worker.
Do you collaborate with the other institutional, especially can help with the housing international students? Their challenges, especially with the housing. Is it possible, or is there any project or collaboration with them, or even with the Philippine Consulate General? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, I'll just reframe what I said. So our interactions are just in a local level because again, I work for a community organization. So I'm a frontline worker, so I can't really speak on collaborations with regards to the government agencies. So I work for Ejigo Community Services, so that's all I can speak on.
We'd like to acknowledge the presence of Richmond Oy from the office of the mayor. Richmond, hi. Would you like to come up front? And I don't know if you heard Lenny's question. So maybe you have answers.
Yeah, I have a couple of answers to it. It's like Ivan said, it's a very loaded question, but part of it is we just released the new budget under the mayor, and part of that budget is putting more money into the housing plan, which is adding originally was around 40,000 affordable housing units up to 65,000, so adding an additional 25,000, and that's coming from collaborations with the province, the federal level. We're also trying to put more money into services like Ivan spoke about, which is like EPIC, which is an eviction protection program, the rent banks. So within the new budget that we're trying to put right now, we're trying to put more protections for renters. And Ivan also spoke about how a lot of, when landlords want to apply for a rent, a rent increase, it's about 3.5% is the tax rate. So in the budget, we also lowered that tax rate to 3.25% so that tenants could be protected in that situation, so that they are less susceptible to above guideline increases. So we're trying to implement a lot of policies to protect tenants and renters. And that kind of encapsulates a section of international students. So it's not necessarily anything that we can directly target under, but we're trying to encapsulate all renters and tenants. That's currently my understanding of the budget, just working on our team. But I can connect with you later because people who would have more knowledge of that is more of the policy legislative team and the community engagement team, which I can give you more connections with.
Can I just, sorry, while Richmond's here, as a follow-up, whose responsibility is it? I know that universities and colleges are supposed to provide enough housing for international students, right? Well, ideally, but whose responsibility is it really to assure the international students that when they come here, that they will have housing available for them? Is it the provinces, or does Toronto play a role as well?
That's also kind of a complicated question that I can't exactly answer, but part of it, I think, is intergovernmental. Could be part of it's province, part of it is federal. And that's why, again, we've been trying to campaign for getting more money from the federal level and from the Ontario level, which they have recently. With the new money for refugees, and then also the new money that we made with the new deal with the province. But yeah, I think for specifically international students, I can't exactly answer that, but for the city of Toronto, our responsibility is to develop more affordable rental housing just in general for the city. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, Ivan. I have a question for you. I'm Veronica. I'm a freelance journalist. You mentioned Lola and Ate. So do you vet your clients in the client list? Because I think more than just matching, somebody in need, or in that case, both of them were in need. How assured are those clients that they're protected? Like, for instance, do you help them with their rental agreement and, even Lola, that she have like a police record or something, I don't know. And I have another question for Stephen. Stephen, based on your experience, what are some of the issues that international students face legally? Thank you.
Developers.
We're just deciding who wants to take on this question. So I guess I can start. So from my understanding, Stephen can probably correct me if I'm wrong. Police checks cannot be asked for, right? Only for employment, right? So for rental purposes, landlords cannot ask for police checks. Goes against the human rights violation, yeah. So that could answer that part of the question. As for what we do, because we are a community-based agency, we're just kind of looking at ways that we can overcome some of the challenges that we're seeing. So for Lola and Ate, I think I would like to speak to this for exactly what you did. You were the one that worked.
So again, Lola and Ate, regards to that case, they did meet and we did like a thorough interview and process with them. In regards to a police reference check, of course, that's not really mandated, so it's not fair to say. So everything that was done in regards to that case was, it was under their own autonomous decision. So I asked them, do you feel comfortable with this? Do you feel comfortable with that? So there was a lot of reassurances in that case that that they were okay, both parties were okay. So I did introduce Lola to other people as well. So she was the one that actually picked her out of other candidates as well. So of course, like the AXA has a great record of working with individuals, for instance, who are victims of domestic violence. So we take every client's safety is important. And it's a top priority for us to ensure that our clients. And it's also, for instance, if you are sharing a room with somebody or you're going out there to find a room rental and you're trying to, share a room with someone, there's also like risks to that. So it's also up to the people themselves if they would like to take those risks themselves, right? So but we do our due diligence in terms of screening people and making sure that all tenancies that we do, we do those things are conducive to a proper relationship.
Ako po si Willie Riodeca. I've been practicing full-time realtor here since 1981. Whatever you discuss here are really very close to my heart because some, especially Filipinos, new immigrants. I think you have seen it on the radio or TV that the federal government has given $143 million to asylum claimants. I know there's a rules and regulations about the Landlords Tenants Act. I think it's about time that we Filipinos will demand from the government that I know there's the rules, but every rules there's an exemption. I think newcomers here in Canada, they should not be faced with this very rigid policy that landlords asking too much question. I've rented my own property and properties to my clients. We waive that credit score because they're new. Just like when I was new here, I arrived in October 22, 1977, Saturday. Monday, I was out in Queens Bay Street applying for the job. What did they ask me? Do you have a Canadian experience? I said to the personal manager, no, sir, because I told you, I just arrived from Manila, Philippines, Saturday. So why this thing about the credit score and also whatever, especially this last month's rent, I think this should be waived. Especially Filipinos, you should be exempted because we're not part of that people that who will receive that money, 143 million from the federal government. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, we'll proceed to our last presenter, I think, who will be giving us an overview of the realty landscape and some tips on home buying. Our next presenter is a skilled residential realtor who holds an MBA from the prestigious Schulich School of Business at York University and a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of the Philippines. His dedication to real estate is underscored by his unyielding commitment to delivering exceptional client service. His proficiency in residential real estate positions him in a dependable guide through the intricacies of the ever-evolving Greater Toronto Area housing market. Beyond his real estate pursuits, he cherishes quality moments with his family, actively engages in community service to his church, and indulges his passion for playing the guitar. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Yuri Ching.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Yuri Ching, GTA Realtor. I'm with Century 21 Innovative Realty Incorporated. It's my utmost pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. So I'm gonna go over the first-time home buyer process. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of my credentials, but we're not gonna talk about me, okay? The only thing I want to point out, at that time, I took a bath, I looked good, so. Anyway, we'll be talking about the process of buying a home. I know home affordability has been top of mind lately, and it's a big concern for a lot of people. But I'm here today to tell you that with planning and preparation, home ownership is possible, it's feasible, and it is achievable. Okay. Before I jump into the process, let me talk briefly about the different property types. So there's freehold, there's condominium. I don't know how much you know about it, but bear with me. Freehold means you manage the maintenance of your property. So you have complete control, and freehold properties are more valuable. So this freehold, they're the house and lot, they're the up and down, as we know, the two-story homes, the bungalows and the townhouses, versus the condominium or condo, where there is a monthly maintenance fee that you pay to property management, who in turns look after the common elements. So owners are responsible for the inside of the unit, whereas property management is usually responsible for the outside maintenance, looking after the main door, the roof, and so on and so forth. Okay, just a big warning. Freestanding properties like detached homes could be condos too. Okay, so just because it looks like a freehold, it doesn't mean that it's not condo. So you have to be very careful before buying a property. Or there could be some fees that you have to pay. So that's why hiring a good realtor, is very, very important to get to know what you're getting yourself into. Okay, so a good realtor will look after your best interest, will protect you, will do all the research so that whatever you're buying is exactly what you're looking for, what you want. Okay, next one. Okay, so home buying process, there's 5 main steps when buying a property. Okay, the first one is preparation, home search, making an offer, firming up the offer, and the actual moving. But the first step, preparation, is key. It is crucial because you as the buyer, you play a very important role, and the success of the first step will dictate the success of the overall process. So one thing about preparation, we talked about it earlier already, but it is very important to build your credit score. So especially for newcomers to Canada, when you come here, apply for a bank account. It's very important. That's how you start building your credit score, your credit history. Get credit cards. There's nothing wrong with having credit cards. I know you must have heard, some cautionary tales, some warnings. Oh, don't get credit cards. It will ruin you, blah, 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 blah. No, actually getting a couple of credit cards, it's a good way of building your credit history. The only thing though is you have to have the discipline of paying what you owe, okay? Don't think that, hey, you know what, for this month, I'll just borrow some, I'll pay it next month, and then next month, oh, let me borrow some more. And then before you know it, it snowballs, and then you have this big, huge credit card balance that you're not able to pay off, okay? So get a couple of credit cards, use it, as long as you pay the balance, you should be good. Save for down payment. In Canada, the minimum down payment, it's 5%. It could go up to 20% depending on whether it's an investment property and other conditions. There's also closing costs involved. Okay, so make sure that you have provision, so that you have enough funds to cover everything, so that come the closing day, it will be a memorable moment instead of one that will haunt you for the rest of your life. Determine your property, okay? Think about your needs. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, if you drive, how many spots you need, location. There's a saying in real estate, the most important factor is location, location, location. And obviously, it is very important. You don't want to buy a property in Mississauga and you work in Bowmanville or vice versa, right? It's very important. Think about your needs and let your needs, influence your buying decision. Get mortgage pre-approval, and this is very important, guys. A mortgage pre-approval, it is good for 60 to 120 days, but very important, it is not a guarantee, okay? A lender will give you a mortgage pre-approval, but you have to be nice, okay? So don't go out buying brand new cars before you move into your new house. Don't open, don't take out loans, don't change jobs. Don't give lenders a reason to not give you a mortgage, okay? You can do all those things after you've moved in. And then last thing, hire a great realtor. Okay, I'm not trying to plug myself for this, but it goes a very long way. A realtor will work for you. Will look after your best interest, will advise you, will educate you about the entire process. I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, there are different property types. Okay, some properties, when you look at it, oh, it looks really nice and it is cheaper than other properties, but there could be caveats, there could be reasons why they're cheaper. Okay, and it's very important that you know what you're getting yourself into, and hiring a great realtor will go a long way in making sure that your home buying process will be a very, very good one. Okay, next one, please. So after you've done after hiring a great realtor, then this realtor will help ensure more smooth and more straightforward home buying process for you. Next slide, please. Okay, the good thing about being a first-time home buyer and being in Canada is you're never alone. There is a lot of incentives and programs available. Okay, so for example, if you're a first-time home buyer, you're buying a property outside Toronto, you can get up to $4,000 rebate in land transfer tax. If you live in Toronto, it's more because actually in Toronto, you pay double the land transfer tax. So if you're buying in Toronto and it's your first time to buy, then you can get up to $8,475 in rebate. There's also various local home ownership programs in Ontario, which is basically a down payment assistance program available in certain jurisdictions, such as in Muskoka, Niagara, Brantford. There's also the Home Buyers Plan, which allows you to withdraw up to $70,000 from your RRSP to be used for down payment. And as long as you pay it within 15 years, it will be tax-free. There's also the first-time home buyer incentive, where eligible Canadians can apply for a loan. So it's 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, they'll take away my mic, so I have to hurry up. So eligible Canadians can apply for a loan worth either 5% or 10%, which you can use towards the down payment. And when you pay back the loan, then you also have to share the equity with the with the lender. So it's an equity sharing program where you're able to put more down, but when you sell the property, then you have to share some of that equity. Next slide, please. Okay, first-time home buyer tax credit, you can get up to $1,500. GST, HST, you can get some of those taxes back. It's available to Canadians who buy new properties, or you're doing significant renovation, or you're building a home that was destroyed. First home savings accounts, it's fairly new, introduced last year, and it's meant to help first-time home buyers save up to $8,000 per year. It is tax deductible and it is tax-free for the purpose of home purchase. Canadians have 15 years to buy a home, and when you after you open the account. And if participants are not able to buy a property, then they can transfer it to their RRSP or RRIF without paying any taxes. Last slide, please. Options for homes. So this is Options for Homes. It's actually the name of the company. It's Canada's largest nonprofit developer of attainable condominiums. Attainable ownership condominiums. Applicants should have at least 5% for down payment, and then options will help arrange help arrange get you additional down payment so that you can put more down. But it's also a shared equity program. So when you pay off the loan, or when you sell the property, then you share part of the equity with Options for Homes. Okay. That is it for me. I think I'm under 10 minutes. Woo! So any questions?
Thank you very much, Yuri. We'll go to Q&A after we have a little bit of an entertainment. You know, we have a daughter of one of our UPAT council members. Her name is Rihanna Ponce de Leon, who's actually playing in a musical, Moana. So please give her a big hand. Oh, Rihanna.
At magbabago ang panahon kung ang bawat pagdaing ay naging pagulong. Ang ko pa dito sa mundo, ang mga matang naghihintay, di totoo. Hindi ang likuran at paglayang tanong ay kalan, pakisin natin isabog ang pagmamahal. Sundan mo ng tinaw ang pagmamahal. Mundo ay punan mo ng tiyak, gawing makulay. Iisa lang natin ay iisa lang. Pag-ibig, pagmamahala ang iyalay mo. Pangunaw, tunay ang sinais ko. Ang pagdamay sa kapay ng Diyos. Sa gabi ay maring wakas. Pagkatapos ng dilim ay maliwanag. Araw ay agad nasisikat, iilawan ang ating landas ng magkaisa. Bawat nating pangarap, sundan mo ng tanaw. Mundo ay punan mo ng siyak, gawing makulay. Iisa lang natin ay iisa lang natin ibig. Pag-ibig, pagmamahal ang iyalay mo. Pangunaw, tunay ang siyang nais ko. Ang pagdamay sa kapay ng Diyos. Sa bahay mo. Sundan mo. Mundo ay punan mo ng siyak, gawing makulay. Iisa lang ang ating lahi, isa lang. Ibig, pag-ibig, pagmahala ang iyalay mo. Pangunaw at tunay ang siyang nais ko. Ang pagdamay sa kapay ng Diyos. Sa bahay. Salamat po.
Ang galing mong magtagalog. By the way, I think Rihanna, you wanted to talk a little bit about your gig, right? So
If you're interested, I'm part of a Moana musical play on March 13th, and you can approach my mom for details.
That's the manager. That's my momager. Where's the momager? You know, for our non-Filipino guests, that only confirms the stereotype that all Filipinos are good singers, di ba? And
Thank you.
any event is not complete without singing.
Already sold out last January 20th, and so they're staging it in March break.
March 13th, Wednesday. Thank you. It's in a City Playhouse Theater in Bonn. So sana masuportahan natin sila from JDL Performing Arts. Yes, all Filipino cast.
If anyone else is ready for with their questions, can I start? I just also want to acknowledge the presence of Joey Licuana. He's our community manager of Royal Bank, and I invited him to come over actually, just in case they're interested first-time home buyers, and there's what kind of special program the banks would have for first-time home buyers. Okay, so Joel, thank you for coming. I guess let me ask this question to Joel. Because Yuri was saying that you have to build your credit as well, right? Before you'll be qualified to buy your first home. But how does this work for, let's say, new immigrants, or how do they start building a credit?
Well, one of the things that, good afternoon, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. I've been immersed in the community support actually through Agnes for the past 30 years now since I came to Canada. So very, very much into the community, and I'm so proud to actually be the community manager supporting the needs of the community, and it's a commitment to make sure that our communities prosper. So, and of course, we start from home, right? So with that question, there's a lot of things earlier about like the rent and all that with the newcomers. So our commitment to the newcomers, especially I can speak to about our BC's program, is that every newcomer, we make sure that we get them a credit card that will start them on building their credit. So it's even our international students, we actually commit to ensuring that they get a credit card when they open accounts so that they can start building their credit. So there's not even an issue about that. We support them and help them with that. Well, now there are newcomers who come to Canada and then they start wanting to buy a property right away. And there are cases like that. And so we have different programs. I'm not going to speak about all the programs, by the way, because we can discuss that offline, and that's why I even have my most qualified, most competent mortgage specialist to make sure that just in case I get stuck in a question about mortgage, I have somebody to back me up. And by the way, it's great to meet AXA. I'm very close to your neighborhood. I've been meaning to meet you because all my branches that I manage are within your community. So there's not an issue that we have programs that support newcomers when it comes to that, and they know they necessarily don't have to have a credit record to actually access those programs. So I'm not going to discuss all the programs. That's going to be another topic, another day of advice event. So, but yes, we do have programs that will support our newcomers.
For Stella and Ivan, you mentioned that you can ask the landlords to report to the credit bureau. Hold on, sorry. Still trying to. Okay. How does the process work for landlords reporting to the credit bureau? Is that the question? I don't know if I got the question right.
It's a wonderful question. I wish I could answer it. I do not know the process at length of how to do that. I don't know if anyone else on the panel can speak to that, Stephen.
Stephen, thank you.
I'll try and speak a little bit to it. So both the landlord and the tenants have to sign up to the same program. There are different agencies that do this for you. It's a completely voluntary thing that both parties have to agree to. The problem is that if you ever fall behind on the rental payments, that will also be recorded. So please be careful that, you know, if you agree to this arrangement, if you suffer an illness, if you lose your job, if you get laid off, that will continue. So just be careful.
Thank you. I guess it's not only the new immigrants and the international students who need affordable housing, it's also seniors, right? So there's some interest here on how seniors can apply for affordable housing, like low rent housing. Cool. Okay. Steven or Ivan?
So, regards to seniors, so again, there's the Toronto Rented Income Housing System. Each city has their own waiting list, right? So at the moment, like in the city of Toronto, for example, if you are a senior who is applying, you can apply to the Toronto Rented Income Housing System. If you're, again, those categories of citizen, refugee claimants, or if you are a permanent resident. So if you're senior interested in doing that, you can definitely apply, and you can also apply to other jurisdictions as well. You know, the waiting list right now is long. However, previously, like it was much longer, right? So it is moving up, and we do have a lot of senior clients that are getting housed very quickly at this point. And I understand time is of the essence, and my heart goes out to you. But you know, we don't manage the waiting list, so the waiting list works based on the application date and priority statuses. So if you do like to apply, like, you know, you can contact one of the housing help centers. And we also put up our contact information. We're able to assist you with that as well. Thank you.
Ivan, sorry. Any updates about the status of, you know, you have some sort of announcement last time, the end of January to up, right?
So,
With regards to the online application of those who applied for subsidized housing. Was it done now, or did they have an extension?
oh, right. So with the city of Toronto, they instituted an annual renewal process. So if you do have an existing rent geared to income housing application, there were memos sent out to all the applicants to keep their applications up to date. You have to upload your 2022 notice of assessment, or in this case, like 2023 at this point, to make sure that everything is still in order for your application. They also introduced 2 questions, so I guess this might help out a little bit with speeding up the waiting list. They are now asking if there are applicants that have over $150,000 or more in terms of assets. They have to declare that, and also if you do own a house, you also have to declare that as well. As far as, you know, what are the implications of those questions are, we can only speculate at this point because there hasn't been an official response from the city yet, so I can't really speak on that.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Ivan. And I'd like to, you know, to emphasize that there are a lot of like community events for the Filipino community, and we are trying to help actually. Like before, we had a lot of information sessions with regards to the subsidized housing application. I think I have to write again to Ivan and to both of you to request for any dates that we're gonna, you know, if we can accommodate all those applications or those who are willing to apply for subsidized housing. I know it takes longer. But I know if you don't apply, then you don't have any applications, right? Yeah, so please stand by because we might have more of this in the future.
Yes, I have another question, and I believe this is for Stephen, or anyone can answer those who are presented. So is there any mechanism that are in place to assist the international student in resolving disputes with the landlord? And how can we improve the support system to ensure fair and timely resolution of the conflicts?
Okay, so this is a great question. I think there was someone who was sitting there who asked me a question that I wasn't able to get to before the break, and that was the common pitfalls of international students and what challenges they face, which is the second part of that question, which kind of ties into your question here. The challenges really are, how do you resolve conflicts, right? So if you're a student, typically you are by yourself. Even if you have families overseas, even if you have extended family in Canada, they might not be where you are currently studying. So what that means is that often you are with 4, 5, 6 other people living in a very cramped space. So I don't know about everyone here, but when I lived on the dorm, it was not the most enjoyable experience at the best of times because of the cramped spaces. So obviously there's going to be conflict. So the pitfalls with regard to international students is that whether or not you are in a RTA controlled tenancy, right? As I previously explained, if you are not protected in the RTA, then you don't have the same rights. You can't complain to the landlord. You can't make use of the landlord and tenant board. The wrinkle here is that if you are an international student and you have issues with other students, who are your co-tenants, right? The only way to address that is through your landlord. So you can't directly address an issue because you don't have any rights in relation to co-tenancy rights. The only way for you to do it is to complain to your landlord that this person is interfering your reasonable enjoyment. The landlord has to file something at the landlord and tenant board. But here's the thing. Most of the time, when you're living in these crowded, typically illegal basements, the landlord's not going to pick up the phone or answer an email. So a lot of the time there are no protections because the only protections you have are through the landlord. Landlord ignores you, you have nothing. So legally speaking, yes, there are protections. Practically speaking, they're harder to enforce. So, that's why we do have so many clients at our clinic because of situations like this. And sometimes we have to advise them practically, there's nothing that we can do. The only thing you can try and do is to find somewhere else to do it.
Thank you very much, Stephen. So are there any more questions? By the way, just wanted to, is there questions for Yuri? Yuri Ching? Okay, Edwin.
I would address this question to the people of the city of Toronto. I would like to know how many international students are here in Toronto and other regions so that we will know the score.
I don't think we have the exact number here in Toronto, but all over Canada, I know that for 2023, we have 23,000 from the Philippines alone, international students who were approved to study in Canada. And before 2023, we already had 30,000 Filipino international students here. Odette, do you know the stats? Yeah, in Canada.
So in Canada, just based on the announcement of Immigration Canada last week, right, they're cutting off the study permit approvals for 2024 and 2025. They said that they're cutting off the approvals by 35%, right? And the number that they said would be at 360,000 study permit approvals this year. And that's 35% of what? So when you do the math, it's 1.2 million all over Canada. So that's the total number of international students in 2023. And then this year, they're going to, cut it by 35%. So that would be like, so that's how you, that's how you get the number of the total number of students in 2023.
I also have a question, pero was that is there anyone that's gonna answer that first, or is it okay na po?
Yeah, we don't have
It's
to
okay.
gather too long.
Okay. Hello po, I'm Arvin. I'm an international student from Seneca Polytechnic. And I'd like to just ask this question. As an international student, I guess one of the root causes of the problem in the housing crisis in Toronto can be rooted or can be affected by the sheer number of international students that are in Canada. So for me, it's nice po that there are services and programs that help to address all the issues that we're currently having here, especially in Toronto, because it's such a dense city. But I think at the root of it, we also need to address as a context that there is a housing backlog, not just in Toronto, but maybe also in Canada. So even if we try our best po kasi to do those programs, as long as we don't need the housing backlog, or as long as there's still a lot of international students that are coming, as you can see, the effect po on a macro level is that there will be things like higher increases in rent. Maybe there's students who are forced to live outside of the TTC system. I have classmates who live in Milton, Brampton, and they're studying in North York, so they have to pay a lot, maybe take the GO train. So you see po, there's like if we don't like take into this is I'm not saying po that what we're talking about now is not nice. It's really great po, but we also need to maybe look at it from higher level as well. And then yeah, that also affects like affordability. That's why students are forced to live maybe with what they call this not really nice or not accommodations that are not covered in RTA. So I'm not sure po who I can address this to, because we have lots of panel. But if anyone would like to maybe talk about more, what do you think can we do to address the housing backlog crisis in general po, so that these things can be more the situation will be better, not just for international students, but also for all newcomers and also those who are already here in Canada and Toronto. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not gonna answer your question, but I want to weigh in. According to the Canadian Home Builders Association, we need to build 2.3 million homes over the next 10 years. But in addition to the 2.3 million, there is a shortfall of about 3.5 million. So in total, we actually need to build 5.8 million units or 5.8 million homes over the 10 years across Canada. So you know, the international students, they're not really the problems. You know, as that gentleman has said, there's that systemic problem where we just don't have enough homes. Okay, so I think what the federal government has done by investing in all these you know, building of rentals and what other properties, that's a step in the right direction. But unless we try to, you know, really put in the effort to play catch up and build the number of units that we should be building, then, you know, we'll continue to experience this challenge, you know, for a while. So.
Thank you very much. Just to a testimonial to what Yuri presented to us. You know, 20 years ago, the Catholic Community Service of York Region had a partnership program with Options for Homes. So we had a lot of newcomers. We had actually a staff or a manager who handled, you know, the housing for newcomers. And you know, a lot of the newcomers, live-in caregivers, are able to, you know, apply and now are living in condos, right? Because I think the concept of Options for Homes is they build in areas that have the potential to grow, right? And my daughter actually was able to get one unit, and that's the one in Danforth near Main Street Station. And she got that about 6 years ago. So it's a really good program because it has what you call the equity, right? Shared equity. So for you to be able to afford the mortgage in the bank and for you to be approved, the Options for Homes will share 15% of the total value of the property. So you only have to, you know, pay for 85% of the mortgage. So it is still on. There's a lot of, I think, you know, in Google it. because my daughter was able to buy a unit for 250,000 6 years ago, and now the value of the property is 900,000. So it's really gone up so much. It's a very good investment for her, but she's the first time home buyer. She's single and she's working, but it is one of the things you should take a look at, you know, when you are interested in buying a home. So as that's just a testimonial. You have to do your research though, okay? I think I'd like to call Andy Chavez, the spouse of our dear Lizelle Chavez, who also works for AXA. So I think this got something to share.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Andy Chavez from Indian Court Community Service. I'm a social worker back from the Philippines and also a social work graduate here. But my message is the reason why I want to emphasize some key points here is because it's something I trust my wife and Tita Jeanette from the Filipino Center that every time we do our information center that we need to emphasize this information. Okay, I'll be a little bit culturally appropriate, so I will be speaking Tagalog in those items that I think that I need to inform you. Okay, first thing is that a lot of the services that Ivan has mentioned is available to you. So please avail of them when you think that you'll be deserving them. Like yung rent bank po, those are grants right now. If you think that you need money for the first and last payment, please avail of them. Okay, if you're working, please avail of them. If you think also that you will be in arrears, okay, please avail of them. Those you can avail of them. A lot of people have availed of them and help them in their first and last month and also in payment of arrears. So kung kayo po ay nangangailangan ng first and last month or kailangan niyo po ay hindi po kayo nakapagbayad ng renta, please do avail of them. Huwag po kayong mahihiya. Okay? Again, there's second thing, okay, there are circumstances in life na sometimes that we don't have any funding. Okay? A lot of Filipinos, we think, and we observe, seniors especially, that they become embarrassed of accessing important services like on-site works or ODSP. Please, those services are available for you. If you think that you or your friends or your relatives would be needing those services, please do inform them. Okay, especially our seniors, they may need to access those services. Please inform them, at least share the information that they can access those funds. Those funds are available for you, so please do inform them. Or if you don't have that enough information, please do go to our agency, Agent Court Community Services or other housing help organization around the city. And maybe if you're not in the city, maybe in Peel, there are also other agencies. But please, wag po kayong mahihiya. There are services that are available for you that you can access. Please do access them, okay? Especially for the seniors, the most important thing that we need to also emphasize right now, if you are around 40 years old and you think that by turning 60, that you may need services like subsidized housing, please do start it right now, as soon as possible. If you don't need it by 60, then it's all good. But as of right now, since Ivan has already also emphasized that you need it, the wait time is very long. If you think by 60 because of family circumstances, or maybe you will there's some challenges in the future. If you think assessing right now that you may need those services, please do access them. Apply as soon as possible. There is no harm. Please do not get embarrassed. What we don't want to happen, ang ayaw po namin mangyari, is that by the time you turn 60, ay wala po kayong matutuluyan. Okay, so what we don't want to happen to our seniors by the time you reach 60, that you don't have any housing and you will be start just applying subsidized housing at 60 years old. We don't want that to happen. There's a lot of seniors who are already suffering because of that, because of lack of information probably, but we don't want that to happen to you or your friends or your relatives. Okay, so that's my only important takeaway as of right now. Okay, and I'll be transferring this. Yes, sir. Sorry. About which one, sir? The eviction prevention?
Yeah, for the
Especially seniors.
Oh, I believe, you can reach out, Ivan from Agent Court Community Services. It depends on, which, city you are. There's a lot of housing health centers in your city. You can, search online housing health centers that is close to your, postal code, and they may, the website will tell you which one is closest to you. Yeah.
So just to chime in terms of reaching out for services, especially if you're in like the city of Toronto, what I also advise in terms of looking for these resources is also reaching out to your local counselor, even reaching out to the mayor through the email, because there is a constituency assistance team on each counselor, and they can direct you specifically to a lot of programs. In my experience, like working in my team, I'm sitting across the constituency assistance team, and they always direct a lot of people who are going through eviction disputes, directing them to EPIC, the Eviction Protection Intervention program. So I also very much encourage citizens, residents, permanent residents, anyone to reach out to their local counselor, see what they can do. Even if if the city of Toronto can't specifically deliver that service, they can always direct you and guide you to the services that you can access as well. So, that's also a great resource, I would say, because they have to respond to you as constituents.
Thank you. So we'll summarize all the resources and post them on maybe the UPAAP website and newsletter, just to keep everyone, and the consulate, yes, so we can keep everyone informed. One more
point.
Just one more. I'll be quick. Okay. Yung linya ko po ng trabaho, my line of work is about eviction prevention. I'm that person that you hope you will not see in your lifetime as a renter, but it will be glad that you did in case. So, but because my line of work is about eviction prevention, there are services in the city of Toronto that you may be eligible for, like rent bank in payment of the arrears. We also help in dealing with the landlord in terms of doing payment plan and those things. But if you will be in arrears, okay, you can connect with your landlords and ask them to refer you to eviction prevention program. And also you can ask for your Ontario Works worker. You can also ask help from if you are in landlord and tenant board, you can ask them also if they can refer you for eviction prevention if you will so apply. So there's also programs and that assistance that you can avail of. So I hope you will not be there, but just in case you'll be there, please ask either your landlord, or if not, your you can call the city of Toronto at 311 and inquire from them how can you avail with any eviction program that you can be entitled to. Okay? Wag po kayong mahiya. Pag may ibig po kayo nakakahiya, pero if there will be services, mas maganda i-access nyo po. It's better na mas-save yung housing niyo kesa po maging homeless kayo. Mas nakakahiya po yun. So please, as a Filipino, I know we need there's a lot of information for us to tell you, but the important thing is that I want you to take away is that if you don't know their services, please ask around, okay? And please, if they're available to you that we have informed you, please do access them, or at least try. Please try, because those can be available and it may help you and your family. Okay? Thank you.
Hello. Hello again. I don't have a question, but something to say about the issue, specifically on international students, right? Someone, I think it was Yuri, who said that this is a systemic issue. The problem, the challenges that we're now facing, it's a systemic one. And what Immigration Canada is doing right now is actually a pushback on the bad actors in the industry. And for us, like, for those in the industry, we know that these bad actors are, some of these bad actors are what we've termed as the ghost consultants. Or, they give advice and when they're not supposed to, and they actually misrepresent students, right? So international students who come here, they have expectations of what their life would be, and then when they come here, they end up, with a lot of challenges, and with housing as among the challenges, right? So we just have to be more aware, especially for those who are coming in, about be financially prepared, because life here in Canada is not easy, right? We all know that. So if you're coming here and you're going to come here on using funds from a loan shark, right? So you're not getting help. You're not getting ahead in life, right? So when you come here as an international student, immigration law says you have to be a bona fide international student. That means you have the means to support yourself, your daily living expenses, your tuition fees, and your accommodations included. So right now, one of the measures being done by the provinces is actually to provide, to ensure that international students would have housing, right? One of the colleges that I've come across is St. Clair College. It's mandatory for them. It's in Windsor to have their students housed in the residence. So that's just that's just what I want to stress, that this is a pushback from immigration because of a lot of bad actors, people playing the system for a long time, and this is we're now at this point. So moving forward, I think one of the measures that we could help is to have more be active in educating the public, right? Information. That's the power of information, but not all social media influencers are we should be discerning, like, where we get our information from.
Thank you very much, Ladette. Okay, thank you. We will take one more question. I think there's a question addressed to the Philippine consulate. Yes, and then okay, because we're running out of time. Okay, so we'll have, before you all leave, let's have a picture taking. Everybody to be in front. Just a little bit of some picture. And by the way, I would like to make an announcement that this conference, this forum, will be in UPAT YouTube channel. So if you would like to review some of the presentation that has been presented here this afternoon, you will be able to view it there. Okay? And share with others too, because there's a lot of learning, very wealth of information that came out today. So Lenny?
Yeah, thank you again. And yes, thank you for all the presenters and guests who presented their services. This question is really direct for the Philippine consulate. With all the problems that we heard, especially for the international student, is there any initiate dialogue between the Philippine government and Canadian authorities to explore the collaborative solution and policies that safeguard the well-being of Filipino international students, specifically that this is one of the most trending issues right now, knowing that international students are facing a lot of challenges and they don't know how to navigate. Of course, they presented it's only on the Canadian side. How can you address all these challenges in our government for Filipino international students? Thank you so much.
Thank you. There's always dialogue at the level of the Philippine government and their Canadian counterparts. An issue like this, again, is complex. But yes, we do realize the need to do something from the Philippine side. At the moment, there is no Philippine government agency that has oversight over international students. International students, not just to Canada, but to other parts of the world. There is a body for migrant workers, that is the Department of Migrant Workers. There is a body that helps migrants, the Commission on Filipinos Overseas. They do the PIDOS, pre-departure orientation programs. But for students at the moment, wala pa, but we are in the stage of discussing this because we see the need to do something even before they come to their country of destination. So if you have any inputs, please share with us your thoughts, your suggestions, so we will share this with the other Philippine government agencies in our policy discussions. Consul RJ, do you have anything to add about what we're doing, Philippine and
Yes. As Consul General has earlier said, we have continually been dialoguing not only at the level of our governments, but also, of course, working closely with the nonprofit sector, with the Filipino community, with even the Filipino students themselves. So we're getting feedback from them. Ano ba yung mga issues and concerns ninyo? Of course, yung as Conjana said, the reason why yung oversight natin wala on the students, because what we expect, of course, is when students come here, they know that what they are going into as international students. But it's a bit different because it's becoming a pathway for migration. But it's a unique pathway because you are here to study. So when you go out in the Philippines, ang understanding is that you go here, you know what you're getting into, and your main reason for that is to study. You're financially secure, you know that you have should have insurance, and anything that happens to you, of course, is your responsibility. But again, under Philippine laws, we also have some protection, of course. One of the pillars of our foreign policy is the assistance to our overseas Filipinos, and we are here for that. We have several programs and services on that, especially for distressed Filipinos. If you have encounter with the law, you have in sickness, or even your family members. And we are again organizing, as earlier mentioned by the Consul General, we are organizing an in-person convention. Hopefully it will be a comprehensive convention, and hopefully again in partnership with UPAAP. We're trying to get the most convenient and best time for it and the venue for the biggest number of students to attend. And we hope that we can impart on the students ano ba yung mga policies and information that they need for that. And we hope that you can spread this out also. As kanina yung main message ng ating isa sa mga speakers, nandiyan yung mga programs, the federal, the provincial, the city government has several programs. Yun nga lang minsan nahihiya yung ating mga kababayan to avail of them. Si Miss Agnes has been here for the longest time, and sometimes she knows na hindi talaga ina-avail ng ating mga kababayan yung mga programs. It's there. the information is there sometimes hindi lang nyo ina-avail. So, yun yung mga programs that we have.
Maraming salamat, Conjen Escalona and Consul RJ Sumagi. Alam nyo, gusto ko tawagin si Pao. Kasi meron pa kang konting, we have a token gift for our panel speakers, Mr. Conjen. And this is actually donated by our council member, who's the chair of Socials and Events Committee of UPAAT, si Pao Jacobs. And this is her product in her farm. So anyway, pwede namin tawagan Stella. Will you please come? And thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Also, Ivan
Thank you.
and Yuri.
Hi to Lolo and Ate. Lolo and Ate.
And Steven. Those are maple leaf and hot pepper jelly, which is my favorite. And I'd like to give one more to Conjen Escalona. Okay, can we?
And also, can I just say, I've been a community worker for over 12 years, I think 12 years. And I've never, in my 15 years in Canada, I've never seen the Philippine consulate work so hard and trying to reach out. And I just want to personally thank you. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Okay, but picture taking, we'll have a picture taking, but before that, I'd like to call on our Vice President of the UPAAT, Chito Villaroya.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you here, humbled and thankful. 48 years ago, when I arrived here in Canada in 1976, there were no services like this. So nangapa ako. I mean, translation, I just winged it. Anyway, I wish to thank the Philippine Consulate Office, Consul General, Angelica Escalona, and Consul RJ Sumagi, and he's not here anymore, Arvin Tate, who I found out that his uncle and I worked together in the same company. I am humbled in the sense that I contributed very little, other than being a part of the UPAAT, but I'm happy where I am. So thank you to all the presenters, to the sponsors of the food. I think we have so much food, so I won't hold up anymore. But I was scared to say your last name, Stella, because I know I'm gonna mispronounce it. So I also want to mention something inspirational in terms of Joel Liquanan. What mountain did you climb? Kilimanjaro. He is one of the Filipinos who climbed up Kilimanjaro. Well, we won't mention that. It's up to him to mention that. But he was not in perfect physical condition, but he made it. So again, thank you so much, Madam Consul General, for hosting the venue. It's magnificent. And with that, I invite you to continue the dialogue. I remember two things. I'm a sports guy and a political guy. So one of the sort of messages that the Raptors, Toronto Raptors said is, pick on the rock, hammer the rock, so we chip away. And also my favorite American president, the late John F. Kennedy, he said, we go to the moon because it's easy. We go to the moon because it's hard. So you're facing challenges right now that's hard. Let's chip away together with the network that faces you right now. On that note, thank you so much for your attendance.
I'd like also to thank Catholic Community Service of York Region, Lizelle Chavez here, and Eric Parungao, and I guess myself, I'm also with CCS, so partly I wear two hats. And thank you so much for the help and also for, spending some of the food that I'm gonna reimburse it. Anyway, and thank you to the Philippine Consulate, to the UPAAT Council, because we really did work hard on this on this workshops that we've been doing together with the Philippine Consulate. So thank you so much to Rihanna. Thank you to our donors, because we have donors here. Pao, Norma Bernal for the food, Chito for the coffee, and Seth for some of the money. They're all council members of UPAT. And thank you.
Last na, we'd also like to thank our media partners, Omni, Ate Nito, and the Philippine Reporter who helped promote the event. And please watch the Omni tonight, so for their coverage, and then Philippine Reporter and Bulletin, Filipino Bulletin as well. Okay, picture please, as usual, the Filipino way.
And we ask everybody to please stay here in front of the picture.
Kodakan.
We have to document this. Please, we'll ask everybody to please